season. While there's a lot of statistical hype for Dak, the fact remains that he went 1-6 versus playoff teams last season with 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So, Skip, how much should Dak's 1-6 record versus those playoff teams play a role in his negotiations?
Jerry Jones should constantly bring that up. That's a fact, and that's significant. And Shannon Sharp, you know I love Dak Prescott. You know that I have defended this man probably as much as anybody in the media anywhere in this country has defended Dak Prescott. But I didn't always defend what happened last year. I did not love the way he played, especially down the stretch last year. I actually loved him more in overall performance in 2018, especially after he got Amari at midseason and they just took off. And Dak was the driving force of that one playoff win over Seattle. He was the star of that game, arm and legs. And I thought Dak played well enough against the Rams in the next playoff game out here in LA at the Coliseum to win that game. The defense did not show up and basically got run off the field, as you remember, by C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley. But Dak played very well, and I defended him the next day on Undisputed. I really loved how he played with Amari. I told you Amari had changed Dak's life. And then we get to last August, and out comes once again the NFL.com top 100 as voted on by the players. And the players said no to Dak Prescott. This is last August, going into the 2019 season. The players voted Dak no out of the top 100. What? I was outraged over that. You liked it. You applauded it, in part because you were just amused by it, because I'm a Cowboy fan and you knew how much it just tore my heart out. But the point was, here we go into 2019, and all of a sudden, Dak's not playing like Dak. He's not making the play to win the game. And he goes 1-6 against the playoff teams. He played very well in that one game. Remember, it was this Sunday night game, the first one against the Eagles, 37-10 Dallas. Love that. But other than that, I got nothing. And Jerry's got a lot on his side of the table, because you remember what Dak didn't do at New Orleans. You killed him for that game. It's Dak versus Teddy Bridgewater in the Superdome, and the final score was 12-10 Bridgewater. 10. Dak managed 10 points in that game. His QBR was actually pretty good at 70. It was very good at 77. He just missed Randall Cobb in the back of the end zone, threw it a little too far out front of him. He missed too many the plays in that game to win that game. And then against Aaron Rodgers, they fall behind 31-3, and then here came Dak later in the game from like the 3:30 mark of the third quarter through the end of the game. He threw for 254 yards. And Shannon Sharp came in the next morning, empty calories. Okay, he almost got them back in the game, except for Brett the Fret Maher missed another late field goal that could have at least forced an onside kick. But again, okay, I'll give you some empty calories. At least he kept fighting. He will fight you. He will compete. Then the Vikings game, I thought Dak played very well. He had a QBR of 85 in that game, and they took the ball out of his hands, as you remember, on 2nd and 2 at the 11 late in the game, when I thought he was driving them for the touchdown to win it. And it was Zeke, 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 and more Zeke at the end of the game, and they lost. But then at New England, it's 13-9 Tom Brady. Is a miserable day, but Dak was pretty miserable. He lost Amari because Amari quit, went over and pouted on the sideline because he just couldn't get open against Stephon Gilmore, and he didn't catch a ball in that game. So maybe I got to give Dak a little bit of a pass, but Dak wasn't very good. Then against Buffalo on Thanksgiving, he was terrible. Threw 2 awful picks. It was a mismatch. It was a rout. And then at Philly, Dak had a banged-up shoulder, but Shannon Sharp always teaches me, if you step on the field, even though you didn't practice all week, you play, and I got to grade you as you played the game. And he wasn't very good, and he missed Tavon Austin deep on a play that could have maybe set up a tie in that game. So there it is, 1-6. Well, I can't sell that. I can't say that's worthy of $40 million a year for 4 years and then $48 million in the 5th year. It just wasn't good enough. It wasn't like 2018 to me, Shannon. And in the end, these weird accolades that keep coming Dak's way, he's all the way up to 3rd in some houses in MVP. And RotoWorld says he's projected as the 3rd best fantasy quarterback. And next-gen stats say he was actually the best deep ball thrower in football last year. I don't remember that. I didn't really see or feel that. I don't think Jerry Jones is seeing or feeling any of that. And I do believe he's looking at the cold, hard facts. We went 8-8. He was 1-6 against playoff teams. And in the end, he didn't make the Pro Bowl, and we didn't make the playoffs. So I'd say all that is more advantage Jerry, and there's a very fair offer on the table that Dak should compromise and accept. Sign it, Dak.
Skip, look, this is how we understand how negotiating works, is that you use whatever is in your best interest to your advantage, and you put all the bad stuff on the table to use it to the player's disadvantage. We understand that's what's playing out right now. Also, I think this is one of the main reasons that Jerry Jones is not totally convinced that Dak is the long-term that can take them to where they ultimately want to be. That's get to and win the Super Bowl. But my only problem with your entire argument, where was this argument during the season? When I was saying these empty calories, when I said he was coming up small, when I was giving him D's and F, you gave him B's and A's. That's what you did. My quarterback is a warrior. You talked about how great he performed the first 3 games of the season. I was telling you he was playing nobody, but that's not what you said. Now, only now when it's time to Dak to get his money is that you're bringing all this. He played small against New England. You gave him a B. He played small against Philly. You gave him a B. He played small in some of these other games. You gave him an A. You talk about how he was a warrior. He talked about how he brought his team back. You didn't mention any of the things that you're mentioning right now. You never mentioned that at the time that it was happening. It's only now that Dak's about to get this money, you want to use everything you possibly can. He came up small against Teddy Bridgewater. You got to beat Teddy Bridgewater. Carson limping to him Wentz. You got to beat limping to him. Kirk Cousins, you owned Kirk Cousins when he was in Washington. That's not what you said at the time. At the time, you talk about what a warrior he was and how outstanding of a performance he was giving. Now, man, you ain't said nothing good about Dak in the last month.
I've said a lot good about him. And by the way, we'd have to look this up and verify. I remember